there, my name is Seela Beck, and the Rabbi from another planet. Please like, share, and subscribe, and ring that little bell so you're notified when new videos drop. I was asked, or not directly, well, sort of directly, I was asked a pretty good question this morning, and I think it deserves a video. I think it really brings up an interesting thing. Last night I did a live stream, I have to say, it was a bit of a corker. I like that one. I did a bit of live stream where I responded to a bunch of people who've been tweeting about me. I don't respond on Twitter. Twitter is a forum for cowards and losers. You know, and there's no way, and there's very little hope you're anyone is going to be able to properly articulate any thoughts or arguments about it. So I reckon go check out the stream. That first 45 minutes was pretty darn good. If I do say something, listen, I have to tell you, it's a basic curse of me that I think I often think my stuff is great. I often finish things and I go, that's pretty darn good. I've got a very, very high opinion of myself. So you know, that's just where we are, mate. There's not much I can do about that. Yeah, there's not much we can do about that if I'm actually brilliant, as I do suspect myself to be. I don't know if I am, but maybe you should hit that subscribe button, just on the off chance that I might actually be brilliant. Just hit that subscribe button. Thank you very much. I'm very grateful for everybody who subscribes. If you subscribe, of course, you can enter my weekly competitions. The prize this week is Judge Dredd, The Pit, which the cover is The Pit. It's a terrible cover. Judge Dredd, The Pit. It's a stonking great Judge Dredd story with everything you would expect to find, plus a bit of get into the lives of the judges. If you haven't read Judge Dredd before, it's a good jumping on spot. I did a video review of it a couple of days ago, so I'll try and put the link to that in the video notes. All you need to do to win it is subscribe to the channel. Subscribe, and in the comments leave the hashtag Judge DeMarco, JUDGE Judge DeMarco. And we're going to do the prize draw on the 30th at Sunday when I'm on the TARDIS Zone. We're going to be doing a watch-along of Fear Her, but I really, really would like to do a watch-along of Remembrance of the Daleks and doing a tweet-along then. I'll suggest it to the TARDIS Zone. Maybe he'll say yes. Wouldn't that be fan-dabby? Anyway, so yeah, that's everything. Also, go check the video notes. There's a Judge Dredd audio story you can download as well. Fine. So yeah, so this comment on Twitter, which again, I don't respond on Twitter. It's a forum for cowards and losers, generally speaking. Yeah, that's really how I look at it. I really don't like Twitter at all. But he did ask, but this guy did, I think he asked a pretty darn good question. So let's read it together. No, that's the wrong button. Now I found the right button. There, let's read this together. After watching Biblical Comics stream today, that was mine, there's a lot to unpack. Well, we're only really unpacking this first bit. The rest is just kind of like, I'll unpack the second part as well. Everything else is just a rabbit hole. So this actually, I think it's worthwhile making a video because it applies to fandoms in general, I think just about every fandom that we have across the... I mean, listen, I know Doctor Who, I know Star Wars, I know Star Trek, I know comic books, DC, Marvel, I know all these fandoms, but I think it's in every fandom. I think this divide that we're seeing in any fandom, we're seeing it across the board. Even in knitting fandom, isn't that weird? Knitting fans had the same thing, which is essentially people come in who really are very upset about the current winners of elections. Let's say, for example, they're very upset about it. And generally speaking, they find sympathy with a large amount of people there. And then they go crazy and then say, we got to burn them at the stakes. And they go, and it causes this divide, when they're just being, very, very hateful to anybody who doesn't share their point of view. And also a whole bunch of other stuff. But I think this is going across fandoms in general, and also what's exacerbated this in Doctor Who, in Star Trek, in Star Wars is the failure of these recent iterations of fandom. These the failure on a couple. Well, one, the main failure we're going to be talking about in the video, but also the failure to gain any popular support. They've all, like, Star Trek's rated. I don't think they've ever had to hide the ratings of Star Trek so doggedly as they are with Lower Decks. I think it was down to like 200,000 people watching it in Canada, which is pretty low. That's pretty low. And that was on the second episode, maybe even like 100,000 by now. It was just plummeting. Yeah, but they are doggedly hiding those those audience numbers. Anyway, Doctor Who, the ratings have fallen off a cliff. Star Wars, they had this big slate of movies, which they don't anymore, do they? That Rian Johnson trilogy. I don't see it happening, but I've been saying that for a couple of years. If these things were successful, we wouldn't be having this conversation. But they're not. They're just not. And they're not successful predominantly all for the exact same freaking reason. It's that people want to, in my opinion, fundamentally change them. So this is what this comment, I guess, this tweet is about. So let's unpack this. After watching Biblical Comics stream today, there's a lot to unpack. Fine. 1, I don't think I'll ever understand the anger that people feel towards the show. That's interesting. I have unconditional love for Doctor Who, and there's nothing that will ever change that for me. So that's an interesting thing. What would they need to do? What would they need to do for this guy, the fan, regenerating fan, regenerating fan? No, don't attack him. Don't contact him. Don't be mean to him. He seems to be asking a really genuinely decent question and making valid points. I mean, it's a good question. But like, what would they need to do to alienate you, to make you angry? Would they need to make? What happens if the Doctor regenerates and wants to join the KKK, for example, right? And this Doctor like really doesn't like people with dark skin, right? Like, would that impact on your enjoyment of Doctor Who? Would that impact on your enjoyment of it? I'm thinking probably yes. I think if they fundamentally change it into a way that you find reprehensible, then you might get it. So listen, I'm a rabbi, as you may know, the rabbi from Nazareth, but I'm a real rabbi. One of my rabbinical jobs at one point was working on the Jewish divorce court. You have to have a religious Jewish divorce as well as like a legal one, because a whole bunch of Jewish law. But it's actually kind of interesting because I'm Orthodox. And all the other denominations of Jews would also get their religious divorces from us as well, because they really wanted that to be super kosher. So like the Reform, the Liberal, they wouldn't marry somebody who had been married before if they didn't have this kosher Jewish divorce. It's called a get, right? If they didn't have it, there's long reasons for that. But yeah, I as I worked on that Jewish divorce court, and I tell you, we did a lot of divorces. We did. Well, it depends how you want to look at it. I would say on a bad week we did 4, on a good week we did 9. Because I was in Miami at the time, and and everybody from South America who needed a Jewish divorce would come through us. So we just did a ton of. But most of the time things were like sorted out very very well before they came to us. It was like it's part the civil divorce. But I will say, you do not see anger. I'm getting to the point of saying you do not see hatred and you do not see anger from somebody who once loved someone and feels like they've been betrayed, right? You don't see any anger like that in any way unless you see a love betrayed. I saw it there, and I see it here in fandom. I see it with comic books, which is, again, I don't love the comic books the same way, like your boy Zach, even I didn't grow up with Marvel. I didn't grow up with I like them, I enjoy them, but they're not like part of my core being. Doctor Who's part of my core, like Star Wars less so, Star Trek slightly less so, but I understand that, if you love something, you've loved it. And then, again, Star Trek's a great example. If you create a Star Trek that fundamentally betrays the ideals of everything that you think this thing is about, and this isn't about taking ownership of it. Again, imagine Doctor Who regenerates and he goes, oh God, this body, I don't like black people. I'm gonna go and join, a white supremacist movement. Yeah, I think most people will be like, what? So so that's where the hatred is coming from, because this Doctor Who and the Star Trek and the Star Wars has fundamentally betrayed the essence, in my opinion, of what Doctor Who is. It's the character. This character is portrayed by Jodie Whittaker, and created by Chris Chibnall, right? Doesn't really bear much relation to Doctor Who hitherto this. You know, it's this Doctor Who is just really, really, very dumb. She's really, very, very, very dumb. You know, the first time she's introduced, again, I was talking to Jerry. First time she's introduced, she blows up the TARDIS and is sucked out into space and falls to Earth, right? Now, I thought that was a charming introduction for a new Doctor. And good, no, that's her. That's what she just this insane incompetence. Now, on top of the insane incompetence, she's also like has no empathy. She doesn't have empathy, and I don't think she has much morality, you know. Like, I've seen her be, the Terrence Dicks was one of the core writers of Doctor Who in the 70s and the 80s as well, bit the 60s for that matter, if I'm right, you know. So he knows Doctor Who very well, and his quote is like just resounds throughout time. He says the Doctor should never be cruel or cowardly, and I've seen this Doctor be both, right? So it just betrays the essence of what the show is. I think same with Star Trek Lower Decks. Star Trek Lower Decks is about horrible people. Absolutely horrible people in Star Trek. Now, Star Trek, go back and watch Next Generation. They're all aspirational people. You look up to all those people, you know. And I loved, like, you saw them in their private lives as well, you know, while they're on the Enterprise. Like Dr. Crusher had that amateur dramatics group. You know, they had like quartets, like violin quartet. People like you'll come home cleaning out the warp manifold, you know, after the day, and then you'll practice your violin for an hour. See, that's a very aspirational thing, and everybody was nice to each other, right? Everybody liked each other. Everybody wanted to lift each other up, and that was a very nice world, you know, to want to live in. So this current Star Trek isn't like this at all. Now, Doctor Who, something that was really great about Doctor Who, and I think which really made people fall in love with it, was Doctor Who was not a conformist, right? He wasn't afraid to be different, and he gloried in his difference. He loved it. He didn't really, but he didn't care that people saw him as being different, right? And so for kids who watched Doctor Who were a bit different, you know, this is why I think Doctor Who has such a massive LGBT following. Because I can imagine growing up, you're gay, you know, you feel a little bit different, right? And you have this hero that doesn't care. And this is something that you aspire to. You know, most of us Doctor Who fans are, again, a little bit different. We grew up, we weren't into, like, the normal stuff. We were into Doctor Who, especially in the 80s when it wasn't cool. This Doctor is just a relentless conformist, right? She conforms to the worst people in human society that have a stranglehold on. We live in 2020 is an era where we're living in an age where really, really mentally unwell people, like this whole thread that came about was because one of the ringleaders of these psychos that live on Twitter, like this guy. I'm always positive he has at minimally 2 Twitter accounts and he pretends to be 2 different people because he's freaking nutball. And there's so many nutballs, but these nutballs have an absolute stranglehold over our culture. That's why, you know, the BBC looks to the BBC is a lot of their management is in this group, this blue checkmark Twitterati group of insane people, but they're also terrified them of them, and so they make TV for them. And the result has been the British public is not interested, and so, to the point where, they now you have a choice of not paying for your license fee. This has been going on for a few months, right? Which is how the BBC got its money. They lost $300 million, 300 million pounds. 300 million pounds. That works out to the math that's like 1.75 million people. And this is just in the first few weeks, the first few months. I think, and the thing is, you have to agree not to watch BBC. And they made that really easy, right? Like, what, you can get your news from many, many other sources. And there's just nothing on, especially now, pandemic times, there's nothing on worth watching. And like, Doctor Who would be one of the only shows I would watch on BBC. Not worth it for me. not worth it. It's not worth the £175 a year that they that they charge you. I would be fine if I lived in England with cancelling my license fee. I think a lot of people are. So I do think that's going to make a fundamental change in the BBC. They're going to have to move to a subscriber model within the next 10 years, which is interesting actually, because the new director of the BBC is comes from BBC Studios. BBC Studios is a commercial one that's done incredibly well. The commercial on the BBC is doing incredibly well. They've made like, was it 1.4 billion last year? Well, yeah, the non-commercial arm, they again, they lost 300 million. Yeah, that's pretty darn bad, because they spend their lives lecturing people on what's on what's right around. They would just are not interested. So again, I'm going to ask this guy, what would it take for you to go, oh my God, this betrays the essence of it? And I'm going to make a suggestion. I'm going to make a suggestion from something that we saw. I think it was this week. There was an idea floated around. I think it's by Philip Morris. It was started. I don't know if there's any any movement on this, but it seems to be like it'll be great. But he floated the idea of an actor by the name of Lawrence Fox taking over as Doctor Now. And all the people on like this side, the other side of the aisle of me, had nervous breakdowns. Like they just had nervous. They're like, he's a fat. He's the truth is the truth. After doing, I didn't know anything about him. After doing some research on him, he has pretty much equivalent views to David Tennant, the very famous Doctor. David Tennant is very left-leaning. He's very socialist. I do find, by the way, that you have to either be very rich or very poor to be into socialism. If you have a normal job, and a career, and you work and you benefit from your labor, and you can the more you work, the more you'll benefit from your labor. That normative 80% of probably 85% of the world. They're not so into socialism. If you're very rich and you're very poor, those two, they think it's freaking great. Okay, but other than that, not so much. Which is why it never wins in any open election. They always have to say, well, listen, we got to switch to socialism because the climate, or because of Black Lives Matter, or whatever, whatever it is, or pandemic. It's always like, it doesn't have any popular support, which is, again, I think David Tennant does represent the mindset of the BBC, which is significantly out of step with the British public. Now, Lawrence Fox seems to be particularly in step with the British public. There's been a big controversy right now. We've got this thing called the Proms, which is like this very traditional musical event. The last night of it, you traditionally had was it Rule Britannia play and God Bless the Queen? Not God Bless the Queen. What's her name again? National Anthem. I think God Bless the Queen. Whatever. Yeah, but they're very rousing. They're very patriotic. They're very English. And the BBC are like, well, that's a bit problematic. That's a bit problematic in 2020. That's a bit. The country, Britain, basically just went, what? No, that was just too much, right? And Lawrence Fox was one of the people spearheading that just very common sense reaction to the BBC insanity. So and these are the people that that people are like Regenerating Fan is friends with, right? I don't know where he falls on it. I don't know if he like that, but they lost it. Over the idea that Lawrence Fox is a person who wasn't a left-wing socialist, but an outspoken, slightly right of centre. Again, I think he's pretty comparable to David Tennant. So I think that would be enough. I think that would be enough to make you fall out of Doctor Who. Going through what people, imagine if instead in Bracknell, UK, you had a Trump-like villain, well, if you had if it landed in America and said, oh, look how wonderful everything is because the elections went the way they did, right? Like, imagine if it was right-wing in the way that it's left-wing now, which I wouldn't advocate for either. I think, Stephen Moffat says it's a show for everyone. And it hurts me that it's not. It hurts me not. So again, I'm asking you, what would it take for you? What would it take for you to say, no, there's no way I can... I can't call this Doctor Who anymore. I mean, is it really... they can put anything on that logo on anything. You'll be fine. It'll be like, so if there's like, I don't know, like Nazi propaganda films, right? And you put a Doctor Who logo on it, you're fine with it. No, yeah. So that I hope answers your question. How do fans hate the show that they love? And they hate it because they do love it. They hate it because they do love it. And I would say you only get real, true hatred when you actually love something. When you actually love something, that's when you get real, true hatred. So anyway, but thank you for the question. I think it made a reasonably interesting video. My name is Sheila Bekin, the Rabbi from Another Planet. Please like, share, and subscribe, and ring the little bell so you're notified when new videos drop.